I never thought I'd be telling a story where a homeowners association tried to take my land, place a lien on my house, and steal my farm equipment, especially considering I never joined their HOA to begin with. But that's exactly what happened, and the further this went, the more unhinged it became. By the end of this, they weren't just harassing me. They were trespassing, vandalizing my property, endangering my animals, and openly breaking the law to force me off land my family has owned 4 generations. This all starts with my family farm, a place that has been in my family for over 200 years. My great-grandfather originally purchased more than 3,000 acres of land and built the farm from the ground up. He passed it to my grandfather, who passed it to my father, and eventually it was passed down to my siblings and me. Farming wasn't just a job to us. It was our history, our livelihood, and something I took a lot of pride in continuing. When the land was divided, my brother and sister each inherited about 1,000 acres. They had no interest in agriculture and decided to sell their portions to a residential development company. I, on the other hand, kept my land. Not only that, I bought an additional 1,100 acres that bordered our property so I could expand the farm and keep it running the way my family always had. For a while, everything was peaceful. Then the developers moved in. Almost overnight, empty fields turned into streets, houses, sidewalks, and identical mailboxes lined up like soldiers. As soon as people moved in, a homeowners association was formed and officially recognized by the county. I'd already heard enough HOA horror stories from friends to know I wanted nothing to do with it. I had no reason to join anyway. My farm existed long before any of those houses were even blueprints. That's when the letters started showing up. They weren't mailed properly. No stamps. No official USPS markings. Just HOA paperwork shoved straight into my mailbox, welcoming me to the association and outlining rules I'd apparently be expected to follow. The letters talked about curb appeal, approved mailbox styles, driveway maintenance, and even mentioned that my barns were non-compliant with community aesthetics. I didn't sign anything. I didn't respond. As far as I was concerned, they could pound sand. I did send a copy of the letter to my brother for a laugh. He's an attorney, and even from across the country, he immediately confirmed 2 things. First, I wasn't part of their HOA, and couldn't be forced into one. Second, what they were doing was illegal. Putting unstamped mail directly into my mailbox is a federal offense. The next week, another package showed up. Same paperwork. Same nonsense. This time, I wrote return to sender on it and put it back in the mailbox. A few days later, my wife and I came home from town after grabbing groceries, feed, and supplies. When we turned into our driveway, we found 3 cars parked right at the entrance, partially blocking access to my property. I eased my truck through, close enough that the people standing nearby visibly flinched as I passed. There were 3 of them waiting on my porch, 2 men and 1 woman, all dressed like they were attending a corporate meeting instead of trespassing on a working farm. The woman was wearing an animal print pencil skirt that made her look like she stepped straight out of a cartoon villain role. They introduced themselves as members of the HOA board without asking permission, without apologizing for blocking my driveway. They started explaining how I needed to comply with HOA policies and how part of my land would need to be rezoned. They talked down to me like I was some stubborn obstacle in their development plans. What they didn't realize was that they'd already shown their hand. They weren't trying to manage my property. They were trying to take it. I later learned they wanted my land rezoned as residential so they could pressure me into selling. I told them to leave. They refused. So I got into my truck, hooked a heavy chain to the front, and slowly drove toward their cars. They didn't argue after that. From that point on, I knew this wasn't over. I installed security cameras all over the property, started building fencing, and considered installing gates. I also reported the HOA to the postmaster for illegally using my mailbox. They were fined heavily, which only made them angrier. The letters kept coming, this time legally mailed. Complaints about my driveway, my mailbox, my house, my bonds. Everything but a working farm offended their suburban sensibilities. Then they went quiet. That silence didn't feel like victory. It felt like planning. A few days later, my wife and I discovered that the HOA had placed a lien on our house using documents we had never seen or signed. That was the moment we called my brother again, who put us in touch with a local attorney named Jennifer. Jennifer was incredible. She moved fast, filed motions, and demanded hearings. The HOA didn't even show up to court. The lien was thrown out. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Not even a week later, my wife and I had to travel out of town for a funeral. When we came back, my farm truck was gone. My Jeep was gone. 2 large pieces of farm equipment were gone, including a backhoe. My cameras confirmed it. Tow trucks entered my property without permission and hauled everything away. When I called towing companies in town, they all denied involvement. That's when I found out one of the HOA board members owned a towing company. It cost me nearly $5,000 to get everything back, including specialized transport to haul the backhoe. They went out of their way to hurt me financially. Then the vandalism started. Sections of my fencing were destroyed. Cameras were ripped down. Gates were left open in the middle of the night, letting 7 horses escape. Thankfully, we recovered them. But if even one had been injured, this would have ended very differently. Jennifer secured a restraining order. The HOA ignored it. One night, someone dressed in black slashed our tires and opened the gates again. This time, the horses were secured. This time, I called the police. Reports were filed. Evidence was compiled. Jennifer demanded a court hearing. Every board member and affiliated business was required to attend. They finally showed up. The judge didn't waste time. The restraining order violations, the illegal lien, the trespassing, the towing, the vandalism. It was all there. The HOA was ordered to leave us alone permanently. They were forced to reimburse every dollar I spent retrieving my vehicles and equipment, plus additional compensation. Watching them sit there, silent and defeated, was worth every ounce of stress. They've never contacted us again. The farm is quiet now. The land is still ours. And the lesson is simple. Some HOAs forget their place until a court reminds them. If you've ever dealt with a nightmare HOA, let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.